Hello and welcome to this course with me, Rory from Hyper Production, and today I'm here with Sonic Academy giving you a complete course on IK Multimedia's T-Rax 5. So if you've been watching the videos leading up to this one, you should be very, very familiar now with how it all works. We've gone over how to set it all up, how to actually import some audio and export audio, and how to do a full master and all the other good stuff. So in this particular episode, I'm going to be showing you how to do sort of stem mastering. Now, what is stem mastering? Every element within your track is basically as important as each other. So why not send each track its own individual processes through a mastering chain? It makes perfect sense. You get the best out of each individual track, and then you can then either input it back into your DAW and then start messing around with it and making sure that it all fits in. Or if you're setting up stems to maybe do on a remix competition, or you're sending them off to go and get mixed professionally or something like that, then it's a great way to make sure that all your audio files are in check, the right format, and sound great, most importantly. So the easy way to do this in T-Rax 5 is via just importing all the individual stems and then using the album assembly to export everything all in one go. So you can do all your stem mastering within this one standalone basically bit of software. So how do we do it? So let's go to clip list and then add clip. I've got a folder here with stems in there, so I'm going to highlight all of them and then press open, and then T-Rax is then going to analyze each individual one for the waveform, and then we can get in there and start mastering each individual one. So as you can see, we've got a bass, we've got an intro pad, a kick, a stab, and some top drums as well. Now you will notice some gaps of silence in there because obviously they're stems, so it's all relatable to the track. But an easy way, instead of waiting for the silence to pass and listen to it, you can just use the loop function like that, and then when we play it through, okay. And then a good point to reference as well is the presets in here, especially the ones under the Engineer series. They do basically specify purely just either mix buses or basses, kicks, toms, guitars, or vocals, or anything like that. So if we drop down this one, let's say, and go down to instruments, and then we've got maybe like a bass guitar. So if we click on that one, that's going to give us our preset and all our modules relevant to that preset. So let's have a quick listen now. And then bypassed. Okay, great. So then we can go through all that and make sure that it's all sounding nice and fat. And then when you click down the list of each individual stem, it will then sort of reset the plugin, if you like. So if I click on that one, it will bring us back to normal. And again, I can just highlight all around here, and then I can start listening to what's going on here. And now I can see that there is a preset there by Nick Davis on Synth Pad. So if we click on that, that should basically give us a better result. Okay, cool. It seems to add in a bit of a tape echo there just in the middle, which can help with some of the sort of atmosphericness of that as well. However, I would recommend keeping any effects that you've got staying in within the DAW, as personally I tend to think that that's more of a creative choice. But if the fact that you can do that and it gives you the option here is great as well. So again, if we keep going down the list, so we go down to kick and we go down to waveform by ticking this right hand toggle here, it says waveform view, and we've got all our kicks there as well. So then I can go down to my presets. I can maybe go, let's try the Tom Lord Algae one. So then let's go down to drums, and then we'll go to kick one. And maybe we can start boosting some of the low mids. And then we can go back into our chain. Now that we've sourced out a loop, it's going to constantly go around that bit. So then we can go back to our chain view and then start messing around and start playing with anything else that we want to add. So let's maybe add something like, let's do a classic comp. Let's get that in there. So then let's put the input drive up slightly and have a listen to this. And another point worth noting is that you don't just necessarily have to listen to stereo. It does give you the mono option as well. So if you're working on basses and kick drums like that, you can then just refer back to the mono monitoring and just make sure that everything's sounding nice and tight and that you're not losing anything under phase cancellation when you put it then back into stereo. So let's pop that onto mono. So coming out of our DAW, we've obviously added a bit of reverb to give it a bit of a roomy sound. So then we probably want to keep it onto stereo, which is perfectly fine. But typically, kick drums tend to be mono, depending what effects you've got onto it. But obviously, this is stem mastering. This is not just sort of a mix down within your DAW. So you're trying to work with the sound that you've got and make it sound as best as you can. So then when you've done all the processing on your individual stems like that, the exporting protocols within T-RackS 5 is really easy to use. So then what we do is then go up to our album assembly, and then you'll notice that we've got all our individual tracks like that, which is basically how an album view would work, which I mentioned previously in the course. So now if we minus that up a little bit so we can just start seeing everything. So we've got all our stems there. So you will hear silence in some bits because it's got to fit within the time scale of the track and the sort of timings. So then we've got everything down here. And then what we can do is then export. And then we go down to not current file this time because we're not just doing one file. We want to do all files. So then we keep it a WAV, keep it at 44.1, and then we're going to keep it at 16-bit for this as well. But if you're sending them off for further maybe mastering or send them to a mix engineer, probably recommend going for 24-bit. Just so, because obviously they are destructive processes, so you probably want to give them the highest sort of quality that you can. But for this sake, we're just going to keep it at 16-bit, and then we're going to click export. And then if you've noticed that it's not going to ask us to name the track. So if you want to name the track, you're going to have to do it in here. You're not going to be able to do it in that because obviously it's got you can't label several different tracks because you would have already done it there. Okay, so when we go down to that, we're going to click export, and then we're just going to go to desktop, and let's go back into the stems and maybe create ourselves a new folder. Call it mastered stems. And we'll click create, and we're going to click open there to basically put everything into that file, and then it's going to run through each individual sort of file through there as well. So with the art of editing, we'll skip over to when this is all finished, and then we'll talk a bit more. So now that that's finished, when we go and take a look on our desktop and in our mastered stems, we can then see that everything is in there nice and neatly. So it's all about just sort of organising your files and making sure that you can find stuff nice and easily. So that is basically how you do stem mastering. It's a really handy way to handle your files within T-RackS 5, doing it this way through the album assembly. So it's not just for album songs, it's a real good way to export everything nice and neatly and make sure that you're organised all the time. So that's been a tutorial on how to do all the stem mastering. I hope you've enjoyed this course going forward. In the next video, we're just going to have sort of a quick recap of what we've been going over and just ensure that you know everything that you need to know, you now know. So I've been Rory from Hyper Production. You've been watching Sonic Academy. Thank you for watching.